Take a breath, step outside.
Right on. Very good evening to everyone. Welcome to the Indigenous Ways concert series. Just before we kick off this wonderful evening, we want to just take this time to acknowledge the caretakers and ancestors of these lands that we reside on in Santa Fe, New Mexico. That's the Pueblo. And wherever you're beaming in from, also acknowledging the traditional caretakers and ancestors of the lands that you're beaming in from, so we could all be here. Thank you.
And Indigenous Ways, as always, is dedicated to bridging cultural exchange with people globally. We are all one, as our people say. Well, with this internet that is not made by us, but I'll tell you what, this internet is allowing us to be together in this time of quarantine and isolation. So for that, we are very grateful.
Very grateful.
And we wanted to reemphasize that our Wednesday night events are as the Wisdom Keepers. That's from 6 to 7 Mountain Daylight Time. Friday nights, we look for entertainment. We like to feature comedy, music, poetry, anything that's entertaining for us on a Friday night. So with that being said, we want to go ahead and talk about our Indigenous Ways bridging cultures is dropping walls of separation. And that seems to be working really well with the variety of guests that we're bringing in. And we're pretty much hitting all over the globe, northern and southern hemisphere.
And as Tash was saying, we're very grateful as this is, I think, our 34th show since the 1st of April, where we came and did the Indigenous Ways virtual events. So we're very excited about that. All of those can be archived at IndigenousWays.org virtual events. If you have not seen any of them, we have had some amazing presenters and artists, as Tash was saying, in the Wisdom Circles on Wednesday, and also in the concert series on Friday, where we are now.
And tonight, we're so grateful to introduce our brother from the state of Montana, the vast state of Montana. He comes from 5 different tribes. He reminds me of sometimes when I meet somebody when I'm in Australia, you know, they're like second and third generation Aussies. Meet somebody, they say, oh, well, I'm Welsh, English, Dutch, Scandinavian, and they start naming all this stuff, and I'm like, wow, man, that's a lot of different cultures and tribes you come from in Europe. That is so awesome. Well, welcome to Australia. And in our case here, we're going to let Krazy Kasey talk about his tribal affiliations, except his is all native, indigenous, 100% North American, First People, Turtle Island, Native American, indigenous.
Magic.
Join the Native Club tonight with Mr. Krazy Kasey. Everybody enjoy. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Hey guys, how's it going? Yes. My name is they're calling me Krazy Kasey. But that's okay. My sister's called Cassie. Even though I'm an only child, my cousin, she's a second, she's my cousin, but I grew up with her, and her name is Cassie, and they would call me Cassie and her Casey. So hello again. My name is Casey Nicholson. I am from Fort Belknap Reservation in Montana. Fort Belknap is, I don't know, it's after some, some dude, some white dude they decided to name the reservation after. So I don't know where they got that from. But there you go. Also, I'm from a tribe that is called Grovant. So I don't know if the interpreter really wants to spell all that out. It's Grovant. But they said that Grovant is a French word for meaning, get this, big belly. So back in the days when we were all, just trimmed up and we had 10 packs, we had long hair. I mean, we were chiseled from top to bottom. I mean, we were like supreme athletes. Our muscles had muscles. Like and I don't get how the French people came and said, "Oh, Gravant," you know, I don't know if that's how you say it. I don't know. Yeah, we were far from being big bellies back then. But nowadays, our people are prideful about their big bellies, you know, and it's just like, why are we being so prideful about being big belly? But that's a little history about one side of my tribe, or of the many tribes I'm a part of. To explain to you guys a little bit of who I am, I don't want to go too much into the jokes right away, but I just want to tell you guys a little bit about how grateful and appreciative I am to be part of this series. It's so cool. My main man, you know, Ernie Sosi, he recommended me for this. So thank you so much, Ernie. Appreciate you, and hope everything's going good in your part of the country. Who am I is pretty much kind of comes down to, I'm an only child. And I don't know how many guys out there watching are an only child, but I'm an only child from my mom. But I am one of many from my dad. So, but I was raised by my mom. She was a single parent, and I'm an only child from her. So it was just me and her throughout the country. She worked for IHS, the Indian Health Service, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the BIA. So she worked for the government. And we moved all over the place, and we did a lot of things, a lot of traveling, met a lot of people throughout my lifetime. And I'm still meeting a lot of great people as well. I lived in Portland, Oregon. I lived in Gallup, New Mexico. I lived in Aberdeen, South Dakota. I've lived in Silver Spring, Maryland. And then finally, I moved to my reservation in Montana. And yeah, there's a lot of things that are happening throughout those years, you know, trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life, how I want to steer myself, or more or less how people wanted me to live, I guess you'd say. So that was a big part of my life. And if you guys don't know who I am, again, my name is Kasey Nicholson. I do a lot of motivational speaking. I do a lot of comedy. I do it mixed, you know, I'll do a lot of motivational presentations mixed with comedy. And I do stand up all over the country for urban and rural areas. I've performed at the Laugh Factory, the Comedy, or the Ice House, the Comedy Store. I've won a couple comedy competitions, which is really cool. And so who would have thunk that this only child from Montana, raised by a single mother, would have went and got his master's, his master's in mental health counseling, and worked in the mental health field for about 5 years, 8 years, I don't know. It was so enjoyable. Time went too fast. Anyways, I worked there and I did that. And one day I decided, you know, I told my wife, she was going to law school at the time, and I told my wife, I'm done. She's like, what? And I'm like, I am done. She's like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Are we breaking up? You know? And I'm like, no. I'm done with my job. I'm done. I'm bored of it. I have anxiety. I don't like life. I don't love life. Like there's something else I want to do. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? And prior to this, I was introduced to comedy in 2010. So 4 years before I quit my job. So I've been dabbling in comedy before that. And I was like, I think I want to become a full-time speaker and comedian. And she's like, oh, you know, she was just blown away. Like, what? And, but she looked at me. I think she was reviewing stuff in her head, you know, like kind of what's going on. And this is probably the most important thing, most supportive thing I've ever heard a lot of the time, besides my mom telling me she loves me and she'll always love me. But this is the next part was, okay, I see how sad you are or depressed you are. Go do it. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, what? This is coming from an Indian woman, right? She's like, I was like, what? You're supporting me? And she's like, yeah, go. And I'm just like, okay. And where do I start? I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to get a gig. I didn't know how to get a speaking gig. So I just started throwing out all my lines, you know. Hey, you looking for a comedian? Hey, can I open up for you for Mark Yaffe, Vaughn Eaglebear, Ernie Sosi? I mean, anyone that's looking for an opener, please hire me. Jared Redwater, Jim Rule, you know, all those comedians that were on Showtime, you know, like hit me up. I'll love to open up for you if you ever come through the Montana area, if you're close to the Missoula area, Montana. And sure enough, you know, I got some opportunities and I was able to get on stage and prove my worth, I guess you'd say, and work at my craft and continue to work at my craft and try to do things that hopefully a lot of people don't heard of, or put a different spin on it and try to talk about my traumas through comedy. And I think in itself was a really healing. It was really healing for me to make fun of the stuff like Indians do of my traumas. So there's a lot of traumas I'll introduce you here when I start my joke portion of how I healed by telling jokes through my or from my trauma. So that was really cool. Another aspect I really want to introduce you guys to as well, not only through my life and through all my circumstances that I've been through the traumas I have been through, but also some inspirational stuff that I've witnessed through my life, you know, that I've created, I guess, for myself. And if anybody's watching this right now, you know, like I said, who would have thunk this, you know, only child raised by a single mother, had no direction, had cultural identity conflict is what I call it. And not knowing who I was always trying, too busy to be the white kid from Portland. I was always trying to be the Navajo kid from Gallup, New Mexico. I was too busy trying to be the black kid from Silver Spring, Maryland. You know, all these people that I hung out with, I was always trying to be them. I was always trying to become like them. And I never found I was never rooted. I was never like balanced. I never was finding who Kasey was. And then I moved to the reservation, and then that's kind of where everything kind of started coming to light. First of all, I would like to say that I'm not Kasey Nicholson. That's a European name, European last name. And I'm Wasnakek, you know, that means white bear in my language. And that's who I am. At the end of the day, that's who I am. I'm not this, you know, this white name, Kasey. You know, I'm more than that. I am my people's people. I am the descendant of all my hundreds or generations and generations of people that have struggled, that have succeeded, that have hunted, that have became somebody. And for me to be okay with just being okay was not enough at this particular time in my life when I decided to quit my day job. I was like, I'm okay. I'm done with being okay, just to be okay. I want it to be great. I want to work towards something that I love. I want to work to provide for my family, my people. I want to bring healing to my people and my loved ones, and maybe healing to those ones that don't have any hope in life, that are having a hard time laughing or just seeing the light in things. And so I said, I'm done being okay with being okay, because I'm sure a lot of my people back in the days, my grandfathers and grandmothers didn't sacrifice what they sacrificed for me just to be okay, for me to be a drug addict, for me to be an alcoholic, for me to be depressed, for me to succumb to the challenges in my life. You know, I'm sure they didn't say, hey, we're just gonna, you know, fight the cavalry. We're just gonna, you know, starve almost to the brink of starving to death so that our grandchildren in the future can just quit. You know, I'm pretty sure they didn't say that. So as I go through life, I think about that, you know, what can I do to empower myself and share that power that my people have within inside me. So when I was 13 years old, living in Silver Spring, Maryland, an English teacher came in, and it was like a week before school ended, you know, and I was living in Silver Spring, Maryland. My mom said, we're moving to the reservation. And so I already knew in my mind we're moving. And that teacher came in, and there was a week left. She said, okay, everybody take their seats. We're going to write a letter, a 10-year letter. And I'm thinking, wait, whoa, I can't write a letter for 10 years. She's like, no, Kasey, ha ha, funny, right? She's like, no, what's going to happen is you're going to write a letter, and in 10 years from now, you're going to open it. So she wrote on the projector, and I don't know how old the audience is here, but back in the days, I mean, it's a little in between the chalkboard and the whiteboard kind of thing, but it was a projector, and projected it up on top of the, you know, the screen, and, you know, had a dry erase marker, and you'd erase it, spray it, erase it stuff. And she said, okay, hello, your name, hello, Kasey. It's 10 years from now. I hope everything is going good. This is what you said you're going to be, ... So I wrote that on my piece of paper. And I really thought, what did I want to be in 10 years from now? And so I looked at it and I was like, let's, professional athlete. I want to be a professional basketball player. Then next, I want to be a professional baseball player. Next, I want to be a professional football player. Next, I want to be a college football player, college baseball player, college, what did I say? College baseball, basketball, football player. And then I went into, I want to go to college to help people. I want to graduate from high school. I can't think, my dream woman. Hey, just joking, but I probably would have put that if I thought about it. My dream woman, long black hair, dark brown eyes with long eyelashes, clean toes. Hey. But whatever I put down there, and as I kept going, I want to be respectful. You know, I did all these things on this piece of paper, and I was going down, and I can't remember everything I was putting, but I know on the very end I put, I want to become a comedian. I don't know how that was going to happen, but I put it because it was whatever you want to put it in, whatever you want to put on this letter 10 years from now, period. Comedian. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Actor, period. And then I remember folding that piece of paper up, put it in that envelope. It was addressed to my auntie that lived in Billings, Montana, that I knew she wasn't going to leave that area, or if she did, she was responsible enough to change her mailing address. So I knew that she was going to be that person. So I wrote it down and I gave it to my teacher in 8th grade, 13 years old. And a week later, school got out, and I did not think about that letter from that day on. From that day, I didn't even know what I did. Lo and behold, I'm going through life, accomplishing these things, failing at these things, wondering, pondering, going through relationships, you know, and then I go into college, and I'm there. My auntie calls, you know, and it's a cell phone, right? It's a cell phone, and it's one of those where you have to flip open, you have to pull up the antenna, and then you have to look for reception, like, come on. And you finally get bars, and you're like, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Those kind of cell phones, you know, it's not like the days of cell phones now that we got nowadays. And I found her, and she's like, hey, Case, can you hear me? I'm like, yeah, I can hear you. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to class. She's like, oh, do you have time to talk? I'm like, yes. What is it, Auntie? She's like, I have to tell you something. I'm like, what? And she's like, you got a letter. And I'm like, oh, I got a letter. She's like, yeah. Yeah, you got a letter from, this is the hard part. And I'm like, okay, just tell me. She's like, you got a letter to yourself. And I'm like, what? I got a letter to myself? Like, huh? Like, what? No. Huh? No. What? No. And she's like, no, you got a letter to yourself. I'm like, that's weird. I don't even remember writing a letter to myself. And she's like, well, you got a letter to yourself. So if you come to Billings this weekend, you could come and check it out. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks, Auntie. And I headed out. And I said, okay, love you, bye, click. And I remember walking to my class, and all of a sudden it dawned on me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And there's this white girl walking by, and I was yelling this, right? And she's like, whoa, what? And I was like, I got a letter. And she's like, cool. And I'm like, I know, isn't it so cool? Oh my God, I gotta go. She's like, weirdo. And I headed out, right? And I went there, and I got my little Sentra, my maroon Sentra. And I went like, you know, back then, Montana didn't have a speed limit. So I went like, you know, I don't know how many miles, but I got there about going 90, 95, and my little Sentra was just shaking, you know, and I was going, right? And I got to my auntie's house, and I opened that door, and I was like, where's the letter? And she's like, it's right there. And I looked at it, it ripped open, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, and it's like, and she said, what does it say? And I started reading it. Hello, Casey. I was like, hello. She's like, it's 10 years from now. How are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing good. How are you doing? You must be tired from being in the mail for 10 years, you know? And as I was going through, and I was like, okay, professional athlete, no. College athlete, would have, should have, could have things, you know? Yeah, we won't get into details about that. And I went down there, dream girl, not yet. On all these things, went to school to help people, check. You know, respectful, check. And all these other little things I started checking. And I remember going down, and I seen comedian, and I'm like, maybe one day. I don't know when or how or what, but sure, I circled it. Actor, that would be really cool. That would be really, really cool. So I circled it, and I remember folding it up again, and I'm pretty sure at this time right now, I gave it to my mom. I'm not sure. We have to look through all her junk or her remember those chests, you know, and they have like a little lock and they're metal. They're like these metal chests that these Indian women would always carry around, and they have little, anyways, I have to look through that stuff because she has a bunch of my kid and baby stuff in there. But I remember that. And so the reason I'm telling you that story is because I set this thing in motion at a time that I didn't even realize when I was 13 years old, about wanting to become something great. And in my mind, at that time, a comedian and actor would be great. And so I was provided the opportunity to actually do comedy through J.R. Redwater. And he lives in LA right now. He's a traveling comic. He's really, really funny. And he said, you know, hey, Case, I seen him in Rapid City. And he's like, I was watching him. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is hilarious. So I said, I'm going to get this guy to come to my res. So I got him to my res. He got up there. There was nobody to open up for him. The crowd was coming in. And he's like, hey, so you got anybody to open up for me? I'm like, was I supposed to get somebody to open up for you? I'm so sorry, my bad. And he's like, just go find anybody that even wants to sing. So I went and found this girl. She could sing George Strait, but she could only sing to George Strait with George Strait. Like she had to sing the song with George Strait. And so she sang it. And she sang this song called Amarillo by Morning, or I don't know, whatever that song was. And it was slow, it was boring, and it's just like, Jared's like, man, the crowd is dead. Like, do something, Casey. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. I said, all right, I'll turn on some music and I'll dance. I don't know, I'll do something. So we turned on music, and I remember it was Sexy and You Know It, kind of the song. I'm sexy and you know it kind of thing. And so I went out there and I shook my stuff, you know. And people started laughing, and I started making fun of people, and I picked on these spiritual advisors or spiritual people in the front row. And we were just like gasped, like, oh, like he's picking on them. And they just, as soon as they busted out laughing, everybody started laughing. So I was like, woo, okay, that's cool. And anyways, I got off stage, and J.R. Redwater's like, oh my God, Casey's really funny. Wow, how about a round of applause, everybody? And people were like shaking my hand and saying, hey man, you were really funny. I'm like, I wasn't trying to be like funny. I wasn't trying to be a stand-up comic. I was just trying to like hype up the crowd for JR. Anyways, J.R. Redwater after the show said, are you interested in comedy? And I thought about that 10-year letter, or that year that I wrote, you know, that letter I wrote. And I was like, yeah. He said, oh, okay, cool. About a month later, he called me up and said, Casey, what are you doing? I have a show in Rocky Boy, Montana. And you should come up. You and your lady should come up, bring up some people from the reservation, and I'll get your tickets comped. I'm like, okay, cool. So we took a carload up, and it was about an hour and a half from my res to Rocky Boy's res. And we got there, and got in, and we all sat down. And I told my lady, I was trying to act cute with my lady, right? I was like, hey babe, what's up, babe? You know, I'm gonna go check out the comedians because I know the comedians, right? So I got up. And I walked into this black curtain. I looked through it, and I seen them all kind of standing there. And I'm like, "Hey guys!" And they're on a meeting. And I look back, and Jared said, "This guy'll do it." And I'm like, "Huh? What? Huh?" He's like, "Yeah, this guy'll do it." And that manager's like, "Who? Him?" You know. And then he's like, and Jared's like, "Yeah." So Jared came back, and he's like, "Bro," and I'm like, "Bro," and he's like, "Bro," and I'm like, bro. And he's like, remember that day you said you want to do comedy and you said yes? And I'm like, yeah. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to do comedy? And I'm like, now? He's like, yeah. Do you want to do comedy now? You can open up for us 5-10 minutes, however long you go. We'll give you 5 or 10 minutes. I'm like, and like my whole world just stopped. It just like went from like to just like this, just really slow. And I remember him asking me this, telling me, do you want to do comedy? Yeah. And as soon as I said yes, everything kind of sped up. I'm like, holy cow. And they're like, great, awesome, it's cool. We'll see you. We'll let you know when you're about to go on. I was like, oh, okay. And then they all left. And I remember looking at this table of fruit, and drinks and pop and water and all these things in front of me. I'm just like, what did I just do? What did I just do? Oh my God. And I remember the person coming in, Kasey, 10 minutes. I'm like, 10 minutes for what? Oh yeah, I'm going on stage. Oh my gosh. Kasey, 5 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? I don't know what I'm going to say. I never went in front of public to say anything to make people laugh. Like, what am I going to do? Kasey, you got 1 minute. Oh my God, 1 minute. What am I going to do? And all of a sudden, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're bringing to the stage. He comes all the way from Fort Belknap, Montana. He is your billboard child, your billboard model, because at that time I was practicing tobacco prevention, and they had this big poster of me as you drive into Havre, Montana, of me preventing tobacco. Anyway, so everybody knew my face, and our model, and I'm just like, welcome to the stage, his first time doing comedy. And I'm like, why do you have to say first time doing comedy? No, he's like, and all of a sudden, round of applause, Kasey Nicholson. And so I was like, I just remember walking through this like beaded curtain, right? This big beaded curtain. I just remember feeling like tactile, memory, just, and I'm walking through and the lights on me. People were freaking flashing cameras at me. And I'm like, whoa, this is what it feels to be a comedian. Wow, this is cool. And I walked up stage, right? And I walked up those steps and the spotlight's on me, the flashing stopped, and I looked back and I'm it was just a bunch of greasy Cree foreheads, It was from the light, here I thought it was flashing lights, coming at me, but it was just greasy foreheads looking at me. So I'm just like, oh, that was just greasy foreheads. And then I went into my set and I seriously blanked out in and out of my set. I didn't know what I was saying. I don't know what I was doing. I heard laughs. I didn't know what exactly. And then I got off stage. And then someone recorded it. And then I looked at it. And I'm like, that's pretty good, And I was welcome to do another set with them again. And that second set, I bombed. And again, why I'm telling you this again is a big introduction about why I do comedy. And when I bombed, it hurt the ego. It hurt my feelings. But what I haven't felt in a long time was that want to do it again. That want to get up off my knees and brush myself off and say, I can do this. I enjoyed that. It's like, when you get a rush of falling off your bike, you're like, okay, that was fun. Ow, 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 but it hurt, but it was fun. I want to get back on the bike. Falling off a horse, falling off something that you really enjoyed. And that's exactly what happened to me. And then, so I decided to go into comedy. So I'll throw you some jokes now. That's kind of why I am who I am today. I just wanted to explain that to you guys, to the audience out there who's watching. So, because a lot of people, comedians don't really get to explain their story or who they are or where they're from. And I thought this is a beautiful platform to kind of to introduce you more or less of who I am, what I'm about, and hopefully build some type of connection with you, because that's what comedy is about, building that emotional connection with you, and I hope you guys enjoy the short show that you guys are going to have. And I hope one day that you'll be able to see me live. And the live show is going to be the live show is like, it's very animated. Let's just put it like that. It's I don't know if the interpreter is going to be able to do this, but resolutiously, can you do that one? Yeah, sure. Resolutiously entertaining. Yeah. So when I first got into, well, hey, Panita and Anisa was not Kasey Nicholson Hasehina. What I just said was, hello, my friends, relatives. My name is Kasey Nicholson. I am white clay. And today's a good day, pretty much in a nutshell. And that's what I said in my language. But I introduced that to myself. I introduced myself like that at a comedy show once. And I said it, and then this one white guy, he stood up and he said, hey buddy, and this is in Billings, Montana. So, the majority of Billings, Montana is white, okay? And this one white guy, he stood up and he said, hey buddy, don't be speaking that Asian in here. And I'm like, sir, that's not Asian. Well, don't be speaking that Mexican in here. I'm like, sir, that's not Mexican. And he's like, well, whatever it is, shut up. I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, excuse me, sir. And he's really doing this to me, you know, just really pointing at me like that. And I said, excuse me, sir, but it's very rude to point. And he looked at me and said, I'm not pointing. He said, I had 3 of my fingers blown off by a firework. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. My bad. He said, and if I could, I would flip you off. And I'm like, whoa. He's like, and I was like, I looked at him. He looked at me. I looked at his finger. And I said, well, you do have a point. That's simple humor for you guys, okay? Another time I actually had to prove myself that I was Indian was, again, same thing, you know, same scenario. I was practicing my jokes outside the club, or outside the bar that we're going to do a comedy show for. And this white guy, again, says, hey, what are you? And I'm just like, I'm native. He's like, well, you don't look like it. I'm like, okay. And he's like, prove it. I'm like, how am I supposed to prove to you that I'm in? He's like, I know a lot of you Indians have those cards. And at this time, I didn't have my card. And even if I did, I wasn't going to show him anyways. But he's like, I was like, okay, all right, I see you. So I went in the back and I went and grabbed my 18-hand high horse. I grabbed it and had a lightning bolt going down his neck, a handprint on his butt, circle around its eye, feathers coming off its mane. And I was like, ho, 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 ho. And his horse was like, you know, rearing up. I'm like, whoa, whoa. And I said, does this prove to you that I'm Indian? And he's like, oh, it looks like a horse. Just, that's all it is. I'm like, huh, all right. So I started taking off all my clothes, right? And all that was left was my chiseled body, right? My chiseled Indian bronze body. Holy muscles on top of muscles. You could just imagine what I look like with a buckskin thong, like, woo, you know, holy. And I got on, I was going to get on the horse, but I remembered, I can't get on this horse just like a normal person. I have to get on this horse like an Indian, like a native. So I was like, no swinging a leg over. I'm going to just hop right over that horse's butt and land right on its back. So I was like, and I ran real fast, right? And I lifted up I lifted myself up on that horse. And as I was going down, I war cried, you know, and I landed on that horse. And as I war cried, his white woman fainted, you know? And I was like, he's like, oh my God, what did he do to my woman? I was like, hey, don't worry about her. Wake her up. I said, I'm not done with her, you know? And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, you want me to prove to you that I'm Indian. So I took out my hair, right? I started taking out my hair and I was just like, and I started taking it out. And I took it all out, right? Took it all out and my hair is blowing in the wind and there was no wind. That's how native I was, right? Just, and the eagle that I rented was flying over my head, you know, you know? And I was like, you want me to prove to you, and is she awake? And he's like, yeah, she's awake. And I was like, well, get ready for this. So I pulled out this, you know, He's like, what is that? Is that a pipe? And I said, hey, it's not the size of the flute that matters. It's how you play it. And as I was playing that, his white woman started floating to me, right? She started floating to me. And she floated to me right in front of me. And I was like, oh, you're just ugly. And I pushed her away. And I started walking away with my horse and my eagle flying over my head and the flute song, you know, my hair blowing in the wind. And I started walking and I remembered he wanted me to prove to him that I'm Indian. I looked back and I said, give me her. And she came just like, she came with me, right? And she's coming with me and I look back at that white man. I say, hey, they don't call me many wives for nothing. Hey, right? And I walked away, right? Yeah, he wanted me to prove to him that I was Indian, so I proved to him. So that's actually a joke that I actually made up on spot at a comedy because that actually happened. They want me to prove it, and in my mind, this is how it transpired. So again, like I was telling you about, that's the traumatic experience for me to actually prove to you. But through that traumatic experience, I made it a joke. And through that joke, it made it to the next round of a comedy competition. So that was really cool. And that was just on the spot. You're like, all right. And I just ditched all my other jokes and I just went with that. And it got me, you know, into the next round of the comedy competition, which was really, really cool. You ever think about, you know, I don't think I think if anybody's would ever get a Native woman president, I don't know if that would really work with everybody. It would be scary, like I have an interpreter here right now today. So thank you again, interpreter, for doing this. But I think an Indian woman, it'd be like really hard because no one would understand her, when she's on the podium, like, oh, everybody, gonna tell you what, man, I'm tired of all you people. You just go back to the land, just tired of you. Heck, you're ignorant. Oh, you're just ignorant. And everybody like, what did she just say? Like, what's going on? Interpreter would just be like, what she said was, all the people here are beautiful people. And she wants to thank everyone for being here and showing their love and support, and keep donating the money that you're donating. Thank you. And the Native woman president would not have security guards. She just wouldn't. She wouldn't have no security guards. She would have her aunt, or she would have her uncles, her brothers, that would be her security guard. Go ahead, touch me. Go ahead, hurry up. I'll get my brother after you, right? I mean, that's how Indian women president. I mean, it would be the cheapest president ever. I mean, I swear, we would we would actually hoard, like the Native woman president would be hoarding the commodities, like the yellow brick. She would not give that out. Just cheap president, But I'm just saying, just a woman president would be awesome. But it would be really cheap. It would be hard to actually see. Do you ever have that one time? You ever have that one moment in your life where, I don't know, where your land was stolen from you? I don't know if you ever had that. Remember back in the days, they had a land, and the land sounded like this, It was really beautiful. Like, it was just beautiful music, And then the settlers, the colonizers, the people that came and, took the land from you. I wrote a song about that part too. You want to hear it? Okay. Why? Yeah, that's pretty much how the song is. Then every moment, I wrote another song about, getting, when I was single and I got married, and it was really beautiful. I wrote that song. You want to hear about it? Here we go. Oh, shit. Yet another beautiful song. But I had kids. I wrote that song as well. Want to hear about it? Here we go. Why? You remember the days when you used to have no gray hair? I wrote a song about it. Want to hear about it? Here you go. Beautiful. Such a beautiful song, the days before gray hairs. And then you got a gray hair. Just that one. Just barely peeking out. It could be in your eyebrow. It could be in your mustache. It could be in your nose hair. It could be in your ear hair. It could be somewhere we don't want to see, but it's a gray hair. And you see it. I wrote a song about it. You want to hear? Why? 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 Thank you. Oh man. There's a one time my wife, well, not one time, but a couple times, but the first time my wife got pregnant, and I don't know about who, but I'm a good man, and so I raised a kid. Jokes. My wife's gonna kill me, but anyways, she ended up having a kid, or she got pregnant. And she got really, a big belly, beautiful, glowing and everything. And we were in Great Falls, Montana. And I heard her, she said, I got to go bathroom. And I was like, okay, all right. And she went to the bathroom, and all of a sudden I heard, ah! She screamed real hard, right? And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, push harder. I said, you're probably constipated. She's like, shut up, get in here, right? So I got in there, and I went in there, and she's just standing there, just like, and it's all wet, right between her legs, just all wet, and it's on the floor. I'm like, what did you do? I said, did you pee yourself? She's like, I don't think I did, and I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, oh my gosh. I think my water broke. And me being the educated man I am, I thought, oh my God, the baby's gonna die. So I started grabbing that water and I throw it back up, throw it back upstairs, right? She said, knock it off. And I'm like, what, the baby's gonna die? She said, no, it ain't. The water's gonna replenish itself. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Went to the hospital. We got to the hospital and there she is. She's up, she's in the position of delivering. And the doctor comes in, okay, on count three, we're going to push, right? And so I was like, okay, this is weird, and he, she's 10 centimeters, we're going to push. I'm like, okay. She's like, okay, you sir, you're going to grab a leg and the mom's going to grab the other leg and we're all going to you're going to push. So I'm like, okay. So I grabbed the leg and I'm holding it, and I'm just like, she's like, 1, 2, 3, we all push. The nurse taps me on the shoulder. Sir, right before you black out, you're not supposed to push. I'm like, oh man, I was about to black out. Woo! Oh my God. Like, you're not supposed to push, sir. I'm like, well, you should have told me that. I was about to have my own brown baby, right? And he's like, no, you all push, but she pushes, but you help her push. I'm like, oh, sorry. Grabbed her leg again. We all pushed. The baby came out and it come flying out, right? And it really didn't come out like that, but I caught it. It was slippery. It dropped. And, but at that time, when it did come out, I didn't know my language at this time. So all I could say is, Shumani, Tonka, and I was like trying to recite my language, I want to sound real spiritual. And the only language I could think of was the Dance of the Wolves lines, So that's all I could do. And the baby came out and it was a really beautiful baby. And, the nurse said, hey, whatever, I don't know if it's the nurse or the delivery doctor or whatever you call them, said, hey, we're going to have another delivery. I'm like, oh my gosh, twins. Yes. Oh my God. Thank you. And all of a sudden, it came out, 1, 2, 3, push, and one more push, sunshine. It came out, phew, and it just fell on the floor. And I looked at it, I'm like, no! Oh my God, where's the eyes? Where's the hands? Where's its ears? Where's its legs? Oh my God, it's not breathing. Somebody help me. The doctor tapped me on the shoulder and said, sir, that's the placenta. I'm like, oh gosh. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to give that one up for adoption. I didn't know how I was going to raise that. That's a sick joke. Sorry about that. My baby, my first baby he grew up to about 3, 4 years old, 2, 3 years old, he's growing up. And I want to spank him, but it's kind of almost against the law to spank him, hard, excessively. And I remember that back in the days when I used to get spanked, I used to get spanked with a thong, right? And I don't know how many of you guys used to get spanked with switches, but I used to get, okay, sorry. I didn't, no, not that kind of thong. Get your mind out of the gutter. Not that kind of thong. Not that kind. No, it's not like my mom ripped it out of her butt and said, get over here, and she whipped it up in the air and all you hear is sick, 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 right? And you're trying to run down the hallway, no! And all of a sudden it just hits you, slides down your face. Why'd you have to wear the white ones? Go to school the next day, your friends are looking at you, man. Hey, man, you high in one eye. No, man, it's pink eye. Not that kind of thong. Not that kind of thong. Some people call them chanclas or flip-flops or whatever else you want to call their, they're those big, thick rubber things they used to spank you with. And she used to spank me really hard, And I remember she was spanking me really hard one time and, you better knock it off. And I was just like, and that's when I first learned my war song, my battle song, you're just crying your face off. And after you finish that song, your psycho mom waits at the door for you, waiting to see if you cry anymore, and you get it out. Then you start this stage. And that's when she comes in to ask you questions because she knows you can't answer them. What are you crying for? Why are you crying? Stop crying or else I'll give you something else to cry for. And then you pass out, right? And you go into blank. And the next thing you know, you wake up in the morning and everything's fine. Speaking about spanking, and I'll end with this joke. Think about spanking. My wife, she likes to spank me, not that way, but she's ready for another kid, and she's ready for another kid, and she she's like, we just got done watching Twilight, the movie. I don't know if any of you guys seen that movie, Twilight. And you know, these guys come out of the woods and they're all buff. These Indian men come out of these woods and they're all buff. I mean, they are just chiseled, you know. And my wife's like, how come you don't look like them? You know, and I'm looking at my big old belly, you know, and just, you know how many years it took me to get this, you know? And she's like, oh, you should just look like them. I said, I can't. She said, heck, well, just imagine then. I'm like, imagine? What are you talking about? She said, get up to the closet. I'm like, no, I am not getting up to the closet. She said, get up to the closet. And when an Indian woman clenches her teeth and says, get up to the closet, you get up to the closet. So I went up to the closet and I was in the closet. And I'm like, why am I in here? She said, we're going to role play. You're in the woods. And when you come out, you're going to attack me like those wolves on Twilight. I'm like, this is weird. She's like, no, on the count of 3, you're going to come out of the closet and attack me. I'm like, this is so weird. Are you ready? I'm like, I'll try. She's like, on the count of 3, come out of the closet. So I said, okay, this is so weird. 1, 2, 3. So I came out of the closet. I was like, hey, no, you didn't. Hey, what's your name? She's like, what are you doing? Are you gay? I'm like, no, you told me to come out of the closet. So I thought, literally, I'm supposed to come out of the closet. She's like, no, you're not supposed to literally come out of the closet gay. Are you like that? I'm like, no, I'm not like that, but I'm not opposed to it. But are you like that? I'm like, no, I'm not like that. I swear I'm not like that. She's like, okay, good. Get back in the closet. I was like, oh, okay, what are we supposed to do now? She's like, get in the closet, and you're supposed to come out of the closet like a wolf. I'm like, oh, you're supposed to growl and bark and do all that stuff to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I said, but I just shaved my back hair. Does that still count? She's like, I don't care. Just get in the closet. Yeah. Oh, God. And she's like, on the count of 3, but first, before you come out, I want to hear you bark. And I'm like, ruff, 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 ruff. She's like, no, I want to hear you bark like a wolf. I was like, oh. She's like, yeah. She's now I want to hear you growl. I said, I am not growling. She's like, growl. So I was like, she said, no, I want you to growl like a wolf. I was like, oh. She's like, yeah. Now I want to hear you howl. I said, okay, I'm drawing the line. I am not howling. She said, howl. I'm like, she's like, you sound like a dying dog. She said, I want to hear you howl like a wolf. I was like, oh. She's like, shut up, that's enough, she said. And she said, get back in the closet. So I'm in the closet, right? She said, on the count of 3, come out of the closet like and attack me. And I'm like, okay. On the count of 3, come out of the closet like a wolf and attack you. She's like, yes. I'm like, all right. Okay, here we go. Game time. She's like, 1, 2, 3. So I come out, all right. Bow wow. You know, she's like, give up, enough, no more. We're not going to do this. She headed back downstairs and watched Twilight. So lo and behold, second child never did come. Thank you guys. That is my time. I thank you guys so much. I think I'm supposed to quit. Am I supposed to quit? I don't know.
Oh man, we don't ever want you to quit. We want you to keep on going till midnight.
That'd be fun.
Standard time. No, man, that's cool, man. If you rock, that's great. You're right on the clock, dude. Thank you so much. Beautiful Cass, you are such an amazing role model. In fact, you're so amazing that we want to have you back for a Wednesday night Wisdom Keeper motivational talk. So we'll be contacting you to come in for one of our Wednesday shows. So I really like your profile that you are pretty much a self-made man. You're an artist, you're a comedian, you're a musician, you're educated and mental health therapy. Oh my God, talk about amazing stuff.
Thank you.
I know writers that have worked in mental institutions and have come out and fictionalized a lot of characters and created stuff and come up with some really amazing stories from context. Context is everything. Context is everything with humor, Context is everything with stories. Context is everything with music. Context is everything with interpreting. So I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to work with our ASL interpreters, meeting them and giving them a little bit of context of who you are, because boy, between the three of you, you guys rocked it hard tonight. Thank you very much for bringing some joy, some inspiration, some hope into our lives, because we are always looking for brothers out there, Indigenous brothers that carry the seeds of hope, that carry the seeds of recovery, because there's so much post-traumatic stress disorder in Indian country, particularly with our boys. So glad you pulled yourself out of that and decided to use your trauma to come up with humor, which is some of our best medicine. Some of our best chants come out of humor, trudging that happy road to destiny. You know, it's great. We're still here. We're resilient. You're resilient, and we love you.
Yeah,
thank
love you too.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you so
You're
much,
beautiful.
Cass, for bringing that incredible medicine. It's so important.
And
Laughter, as you were talking about.
And thank you, Martin, too, and Cress. You guys rock, too.
So we're really grateful to you, Cass, and bringing that medicine to us. I particularly liked your backstory, you know, and this is some of the theme that we've been sharing with the Rising and Resilience, particularly not only as Indigenous people, Native people, and how we're here because of our ancestors and what was extraordinary, but doing to our current day today. So your story of getting into comedy, I always think there's only one way to do it, and that's to do it, and you did. And just meeting you tonight, seeing you tonight, what a gift. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank
so
you.
We're going to go on to our next portion, which is what's coming up at the Indigenous virtual events. On Wednesday, we're very, very blessed at the Wisdom Circle to have Colin Denny. He is from the Navajo Nation. He is deaf, so he's going to be presenting. Very, very empowered young man that will look forward to you meeting next week and sharing his journeys. And then on Friday,
July 24th, we have my very, 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 very favorite musician, role model, Indigenous man, Bill Miller, who was so kind to me back in the day when I was first starting my music journey. He invited me up on stage with him back in 89, 90.
Pictures
back
were black and white.
Say Lee, no, that's not that far back, but he invited me to come up and sing, open up for him, and then he invited me back up on stage another time to open up for him. And you know, when you get a Indigenous brother like that, and you're just a struggling musician, and like you, Cass, wanting to do comedy, and somebody opens that door and welcomes you up onto the stage, it is everything. You never forget that. I will never forget that. So Bill Miller's my favorite musician. He's from Wisconsin, and I can't believe how lucky we are to have Bill Miller next Friday. So all of you, spread the word, pass this on. We're going to have Bill Miller next Friday.
And these are possible because of our sponsors, the First Peoples Fund, the National Endowment of the Arts, the New Mexico Arts, and the Santa Fe Arts and Culture Department. And our Wisdom Circle is also sponsored by the New Mexico Humanities Council and also the National Endowment of Humanities. So we're very grateful to all of them making these events possible, but also for your personal gifts and supporting our ASL interpreters and also our wonderful, wonderful artists and presenters like Cass. Also, our social media is flashing about. So if you haven't liked us on any of our social media, if you're watching out through any of our social media pages, please like us. And then
we are so grateful for our last trip, Black Mesa. We were able to deliver some cleaning essentials and a lot of extra goodies like umbrellas and reading glasses and puzzles and 50 straw hats, 25 male, 25 female, and elders were really, really, really happy about this. So we're expected to go back up to Black Mountain in a couple of weeks. We're going to be taking some hand washing stations for the people that don't have running water. And we have the specific families that are in need of that service. So we got so blessed with some donations to get that together.
And
so
then
we're really
talking
excited for
about
that.
donations, this was only possible because of you. We started this on the 15th of May when someone suggested, hey, I've got some food somewhere on the Navajo Nation. Do you know anyone? Tash said yes. And so we did a trip on the 23rd. On Tuesday, and that was of May. And on Tuesday, we made our third run to the Navajo Nation, specifically catering to the elders on Black Mountain. But since that period of time, thanks to you, we've taken over $18,000 of supplies and food up there. But this has been through the incredible love from our communities.
Pure love.
And in this time, especially, is really extraordinary, that sense of giving. So thank you so much.
And most of all, that before that sense of giving, that sense of caring, because without caring, there is no giving. So people really do care, and that is really heartwarming. And it looks like our screens are all froze up. I don't know if it's just us, but everybody's like.
So
Okay.
if you're still out there and you haven't frozen, oh, here we are, back in again. You can donate on our website, IndigenousWays.org. Donate. There's two, one for the virtual events and also the other for the Black Mountain run. We will be going up again in 2-3 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll let you know those dates of when that is. Already people are dropping food and supplies at the door, so we're very grateful for that. That's only through you. So we're grateful.
And I just got a call last week from Meow Wolf, and they are also going to be joining us and co-partnering to deliver food and potentially some water up to Black Mountain. So that's big. Meow Wolf, they rock.
So this is that beautiful time. If you're in Zoom and you want to turn your camera on and just check in, or say hi to Cass, this is the time to do that while people are getting themselves organized. And if you're out in our social media world, whether that be through our Twitter page, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those good things, YouTube, you can type messages in if you want to. Tash, you go, because I was going to say something and I just slipped my mind.
We are just beyond excited, and the fact that our shows get archived, most of the people come in to see our shows from our website, so we've been getting a lot of feedback from Indian country and all others. We have to be fully inclusive, and we like that too. We like to be fully inclusive. A lot of people do watch our stuff on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, of course, and so not everybody tunes in on a Friday night, but here's Najoni.
Right on,
Hey, Najoni.
Najoni. Congratulations.
Najoni got a job today.
Great to see you.
Wow, thank you.
Congratulations.
How do you feel,
Thank
Najoni? How did you like the show?
I enjoyed it. And, I feel employed, which feels nice.
That is so cool. Thank you.
A little bit of relief.
Hey, Destiny, great
how's
to
it
see
going?
you.
Nice to see you.
Yes, it's good to see you guys.
Thank you guys for beaming in. And then, I just remembered what I wanted to say. I just wanted to give our media team a shout out. That's the RTM, with all these events that we've been hosting online since April the 1st. We've revamped our webpage, IndigenousWays.org. So a big shout out to the RTM team, Willa, Bridget, Juliana, Tracy, and the rest of you. Thank you for making that possible.
And I think your mom was on tonight, Margaret Nicholson. Is that her name?
Uh-huh.
Says, hi, son. Love you. So proud of you. Todd Sisquasis, Enina J, we love you. We're going to get you on one of our shows. Narissa Bond, Alfred Boyd, my old IAIA buddy from back in the day, Tuba City, Arcanta, Christine Bueno, New York City, Destiny, Narissa, Todd, Margaret, Enid, Robert Simpson, Gilda Gifford. Thank you all. Wesley Ray Thomas, and everybody else out there. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.
And then,
Cass, we're going to be in touch with you for sure about the Wednesday night.
We've got a lot of shy people, but I just wanted to say this from the Zoom room. We've got Geraldine. I'm not sure if she's still on in here, but she says, "Thank you, Cass. Cleared my heart and mind. Just what I needed for a long, hard work week. Many blessings to you." And then there was something from social media. I've forgotten what it was, but I'll find it and I'll come back in. But I just want to take this time, we've got a lot of people who are shy and just behind the scenes, and that's great. But this is only possible because of our interpreters. So I want to give a big shout out to Martin and Cristiano for making access available for all. But I also want a big shout out, and you, Cassie, bringing your medicine. Again, thank you to Ernie Sosi for saying, "Hey, you've got to get my bro on here." So thank you, Ernie.
Highly recommended.
And I'm so grateful that you did recommend Cassie to us, because what incredible medicine. So with that, let's all give it up for It's Krazy Kasey.
Touch the earth, touch the earth, touch the earth. Feel the rain. Touch the